have a photo op with our new city council. So don't they look great? To start off our meeting, I've asked Councilman Truman if he'll offer our invocation and Councilman Turek if he'll lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Our Father in heaven, we are grateful for citizens of Washington State, beautiful area, its citizens who serve one another, Lord, the wonderful place to live, grateful for the city. Heavenly Father, we invite thy Spirit of this creation, blessing, that we teach us tonight here. We invoke these words, all of our prayers, in the name of Jesus Christ.
Amen.
Please rise. Repeat the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, gentlemen. We'll move to item number 1, approval of the agenda.
Mayor, I'll move that we approve the agenda as is listed.
Okay, I have a motion to approve it. Do I have a second?
I'll second the motion.
I have a motion, second.
Turek, aye.
Staley, aye. Truman, aye.
Nice, nice. Thank you, gentlemen. Item 2, announcements. I just have one announcement. Tomorrow, from noon to 3, we are having an open house on our new generation plant that we built. And the ribbon cutting, it starts at noon. Invite the 4250 East Telegraph. It's a beautiful facility.
I was just kind of across the street from Razor Ridge Park.
You know where the fishing pond is, just south of it. From noon to 3. Item 3, unless there's any other announcements. Well, yeah, there's another one. 4th of July celebration is on the 4th of July this year. We invite all those that would like to participate and come and eat.
Maybe we ought to make an announcement on the fire restrictions, or the restrictions this year.
I don't think we have any fire restrictions as of yet, so if you do have fireworks out there, please be very, very careful.
Chief, do we still have just an area that we've designated on our, at all? Oh, yeah, great.
Okay, thank you. Council.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor. We're really excited this year. This is our 5th year, and this will be our 2014-2015 Youth Council. Jeff Turek, Councilman Turek, is one of our advisors. Sherry Reeder is an advisor, and myself. And this is our youth for this year. If they'll please come up and stand. Amanda Ott. Amber Vander Hayden, she asked to be excused. She's out of town. Annalise Burr. Ashton Hardy. Briley Barrow. Camille Rose Chamberlain. Dakota is out of town, Dakota Stewart, and she's asked to be excused. Derek Millward. Hannah Ann Hogue. Whoops. Leighton Marie Ibsen. Lydia Porter. Prina Rajesh Patel. Sage Lincoln is asked to be excused. Town in New York. Poor baby. Tyler Rose Hudson. Trent Olson, Victoria Robinson, Vincent Ruki. This is our new for 2014-2015. Now, if those that are new this year, if you please will stay standing, and those that are to be installed, and the rest of you can be seated. Okay. And while they're being seated, I'd like you to know that we're going to be having our retreat this Saturday. And we're going to be doing the Wizard of Us. And we would love to come to your ribbon cutting. I think that's something that the Youth Council
Absolutely.
would really love to be a part of. And if we could be there tomorrow at noon, that would be great, those that could come.
That'd be
Okay.
awesome.
All right. And thank you for giving us this opportunity.
Oh, you're very welcome. Thank you, Carmen and Sherry. So Denise Bullock will swear you in.
solemnly swear that I will support and obey and the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the United States and the state of Utah. I also solemnly swear that I will support and obey and defend the ordinances and laws of Washington State. Discharge the duties of my office. Sign your oath of office that set up there.
Going up to the Covington home? Okay. And parents, thank you so much for having wonderful children and your support of them in their activities. Item 4, declaration of abstentions and conflicts. Any to declare at this time, gentlemen? No. Okay. Item 5, special event. Consideration to approve a special event application for Movies in the Park to be held at the Veterans Park on July 11th, August 1st, and September 5th. Applicants, Washington City Community Center and the Shop Local Committee.
Hello. I want to make one change to that. Wendy and the Community Center did apply for this, but since then, so with the Shop Local Committee, we have the chamber has started to get more involved in this, and this has been a chamber event for a long time. So I appreciate had a city liaison for a while applying for this permit. So event.
Okay.
The dates and everything stay the same.
Dates and everything stays the same. We've been involved with this, and it's nice, especially since with this Shop Local Committee that we've had a lot of support. And I appreciate all the support that you guys give us.
Dan, we appreciate what you do to try to grow the community.
Right.
Anything we can do right now to get out there is good, because we definitely want to sell our city and make sure that we help get some more in too. So any support we can receive from the city with all these. Do you guys have any questions about the events?
No, I would just add there was a great turnout last month. I mean, people had their blanket. Screen is really, really big.
It's awesome. An event, which is a steep price. And, I've got some ideas moving in the future of how we can team up to take care of those. But we've got to for these 3 dates. We're going to showcase some local businesses at these, and our intent is to continue this throughout the years. And we've got that. It's the biggest screen out in southern Utah right now for movies in the park. These are some of the best movies that
And I know sometimes that can be tough, depending on your water turn, but that might be something they can have with the dates and times.
And then also some of the lighting. So there's one street light that really tends to take away from some of the magic of that screen and projector. So I don't know if there's what we can do with that, but that would really help us too. We've put towels over it before. Works really well.
On the street lights?
Yeah. Well, no, there's the one that's right in between the church and us. It's right in between those 2 trees, just right on the sidewalk. It's actually looking over the park. So, I mean, we dealt with it on Cotton Days and the tractors, but having that, if we can turn that street light out, that would really help for the projector.
You can turn one light out.
Just one
I
light.
don't know what they can.
Yeah, I think it's on a switch.
Well, we'll check.
We can talk with Kelly. and
Yeah,
see.
we'll talk to Kelly. If not, we'll get a nice cover for it. And throw it up
Something.
there. Okay. Any other questions for Dan? Do we need to make a motion to approve this? Or?
I'll make a motion that we approve the special event application for our chamber for the movies in the park to be held at Veterans Park on July 11th, August 1st, and September 5th.
Have a motion? Do I have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Nice and I.
Staley, aye.
Turek, aye.
Thank you, Dan. I appreciate
you.
anything we can do to help. Let us know.
Thank you. I'm sure we'll be seeing more, so
Okay.
look for our Shop Local campaign.
Thank you. Item 6, preliminary plat. Consideration to approve the preliminary plat for Hunter Run subdivision located at the south side of 200 East and 400 South. Applicant Riley Richardson, Hunter Run Land LLC.
Thank you, Mayor. As stated, this is application requesting approval of the preliminary plat for the Hunter Run subdivision. The applicant's wishing to develop 8 lots on an area covering 1.67 acres. At this particular location, the zoning is the residential single-family 6,000 square foot minimum, or R16 as we refer to it. The proposed project is located directly west of the city's dog park. The owner of the trailer park to the north recently purchased the trailer park and has put this property on the market for quite a while, and this has recently gone through a zone change and to that new zoning, and now the Richardsons are trying to pick this particular project up and develop these 8 lots. The project will be accessing through 100 East, as you can see. People have asked why not off of 200 East, which is right there, but the road would then require improvements to get down there all the way from 400 South, and so the applicant has decided to do a land swap with the Bundys in that home right there on that southwest corner, and their backyard will now increase as they give up their southern boundary for the new road access. Also, the requested preliminary plat meets the zoning regulations, requirements, other city ordinances. Staff's reviewed the request, recommended approval with conditions of the preliminary plat. The Planning Committee reviewed the request at their June 4th meeting. The Planning Commission unanimously recommended approval of the preliminary plat for Hunter Run subdivision to the City Council, according to the findings and the conditions. But I did just have Mike. Did you have a chance to meet with Jason, or you all? Okay. Mike will want to probably come up before, unless you have any questions for me. Mike's going to talk to you about the road. He has an issue with the road at this point. And he's just finished talking with Jason, who's a representative with Rosenberg Associates, but I'll, unless you have any questions for me, then I'll invite Mike
Just
up. but-
just a quick question before Mike comes up. Change level, is that why this looks familiar? Did we see a very plat and then this is different because
Yeah, but we didn't have, I don't think we had the design up. Up how we, the discussion might have been talked about that, but I don't think because we're not allowed to bring up a
bit about and acquisitions.
I
to
think
get
we
the
did.
access.
I think that was brought up that would be coming, and we'd see that during the preliminary plat stage. And I think we had kind of a rough outline of the whole property of where the access might be, if I remember
So does
right.
the applicant either own or have under contract the property in question for the preliminary plat? I mean, is that all taking place?
For the road?
For the entire project, because I
Well,
know they were cutting off the back. They were doing a land swap for the access and exchanging that, if I recall correctly, exchanging that property they needed to access the project with some of the backyard of another property owner.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that's all been worked out, but that's part of what a subdivision will do is it'll lay it all out and then it's recorded. All that will take
Okay,
place.
so they'll work through all the details on that, but this is the way they're presenting it, and it's up
This
to
is
them.
the way they're presenting it,
Okay.
and at this point, this is the proposal and the propose for that. And again, most time it will wait at final plat. Boundaries and lines, etc. So, okay. Anything else for me? I'll invite Mr. Shaw to come up.
The applicant's requesting a 36 public road. We have in our standards a 36-foot residential access, but it was designed as a single access, single loaded road for hillsides. So when you're going in and there's a development on a hillside, you're not cutting way back on, as well as the houses on it. So they're requesting that in this development, and we've kind of opposed that. It should be a 50-foot right-of-way if it's going to be a public road. Otherwise, suggested it should be a private road. Or private road, so I guess I'll just read real quick what this says in our special circumstances for the 36-foot road. In special circumstances, in parentheses, be 27 feet. Lip of curb to the sidewalk, which
So I guess, are you saying this doesn't fall in the special circumstance that was intended by that provision?
that's what we're saying, is it doesn't fall into those conditions. I mean, 36 feet is very, very narrow. 27 feet of
There's
yeah,
one
I think
access.
there's some elevation problems, and
So are we comfortable with just a single access into that project?
that I think falls more under the fire code, and I know the fire marshal has reviewed it and he's comfortable with it. They've got the hammerhead turnaround in there, and I'm not sure if they have the crash gate at the end of this or not. They do, so they have the emergency access.
But if I understand you correctly, if they keep this, then they can do it at the 30.
But that actually requires pavement, so.
And say, I public. And so if they're an issue being a public road, to me, the same issue arises whether it's a private road. So we ought to look at widths.
I
They're going to be
agree.
conducive to all of those, whether they're private or public, period.
I agree, but the only people that will ever use this road are the people that live in this development.
I understand that. But the issue that you cited is the fact that parking is in there. And if you have cars parked on the side of the road, you're not going to get, especially if you have a other than a concern would come is if that's where my concern would come from.
On a public road, and we've not allowed it, and it's never actually got this far. It's not been brought to council.
What is the, I probably haven't, because I haven't known the issue, what is the length? Didn't it say in your ordinance there that 600 feet or something to that effect?
In length and serving less than 10.
This particular roadway.
260 feet, is that what you get?
So both ultimately, you read the ordinance, as I understand it, this would fall permitted use.
I guess that's how you read it. It was never in.
And the reasoning behind it, but the way as you read it, not the way the wording is that says, hey, we can do this as long as it's less than 10 lots and as long as we're less than 600 feet.
Right. But also,
So your discretion.
well, none of
What can a piece like this ever do, given the rules and the ordinances that exist? How do we deal with these odd?
get their lots in. I think
Can answer the question, but what's their objection to the private road other than just the cost? Is their objection to it? We have a number of these with private roads, don't we?
we have quite a few private roads up in the Green Springs. Well, most of our private roads have kept their roads to really close to the 50-foot right-of-way.
I guess it sounds like we might have some questions for the applicant. Thanks, Mike.
Hello, I'm Riley Richardson.
Our questions, and that is as far as private road versus public road, and then what would it take to have the road 50 foot? What would you lose in development?
The biggest constraint is the Bundy's house is right there. They've got comes maxed. So, we looked at that initially as a secondary access and maybe coming in off 200, but 200 has a lot of difficult problems. The road that would need to be improved there is work out. So option 2 was do a private road and put the smaller road in the initial. Little bit of talk with Lester at one point. We were talking about maybe making it a public road. It's kind of a unique situation. It is really a small piece of property. We can't get access. Like Mike said, there's some elevation differences between 200 and the property itself, which make it tough to tie in. So it's kind of a culmination of, and what makes the most sense, what's going to, sit in harmony with the rest of the neighborhood and be an improvement to what's sitting there now. And so yeah, it can be time, and so it's kind of a
Councilman Turner. CNRs where you could provide.
have signs up that would be visible by everybody, so they would not park on one side. Care of the policing of that.
As part of this project, there'll be certain rules and regulations.
Detention. Yeah, neighbor Collins.
Like myself, that next to each other and don't connect, and just wonder how long. Why it doesn't make sense to connect that road with 200 East.
That happens right there. It kind of makes because there will be a fence going up. There'll be
at the curb and
visual barrier.
Yeah. What is the feet?
No, it's like
Yeah, I'm Jason Smith with Rosenberg Associates. The elevation change currently is between 10 and 8 feet. There will be a little bit of fill on that. Elevation change and when it's complete.
intersect. So there's a can enclosure, also the
One of the big reasons into an actual traffic. And people live in those units there, have them come in off of 100 East.
You can kind of see 200 right there, and that's the whoa, slow down. But that'd be the 4 trader units to be affected if that was brought again. And it's not going to be we wouldn't be able to get if we went full 50 foot. I'm probably afraid we'd probably lose 4 units there. Now that Trader Park force 4 units to be eliminated.
Yeah, I certainly don't think we want to dis.
Yes, but
And in your review of this, you didn't see the possibility of a 50-foot road coming off of 100 East. Wide as could.
there, it is, and if you go to the south, there is a sheer drop. There's no way to maybe even buy some of that and build. It's just it gets to we're really putting a burden.
Could this property be used? So I see Mr. Richardson bringing more of a solution. Now the question is, does a 36-foot road make sense, and should it be a public or a private road? It is not a through street, which I'm a private street in this case, where it's not going to be trafficked by a bunch of other cars. It's kind of its own. Inclined to move forward with an approval and a private street here, given the uniqueness.
Yeah, because I worked over with Ryder. We went through all kinds of scenarios. It also has a real drop off of 400 South, but then they'd be buying property that would just be, and then to make the road come in just to satisfy that, it's not an easy piece.
That almost looked to me like just a deep lot, like a lot of the downtown lots are to me.
Well, it's a piece on its own in essence, but it's owned by, but it does have a, well, 2 acre. Yeah.
It's commercial.
That's how long that's been sitting there. I wonder how that zoning happened. That's because that used to be Washington right there.
I guess if I can make a comment, I can understand what Councilman Turik's comments in. What's the difference if it's public or private on the 36 foot, and if we're calling it private, then we're going to put added burden onto the developer, go through with all the association and everything else. So I'm inclined to even approve it as a public road. Let's keep it.
If it's private, I don't. Parking problem.
Your law enforcement, as far as that goes, well, and that was my thought, is if it stayed public, we could enforce the no parking on street or something to that effect there, and enforce that. Where if it's private.
And as I talked with Mike, I asked basically the difference between the public and this proposal with the no parking. It's eliminating a lane, so to speak, which we'd call a parking lane, so to speak, on each side of a residential road. With the no parking, it takes one of those out, and you end up with roughly the same footage. It's just that you have to now put more policing, I guess, for this short little road if people aren't obeying that no parking, but that would probably be the drawback, I would say, if there is one, is that we'd have to call the towing company. It's not a cost to us, but we'd have to go through the whole, take the complaint and then have our, dispatch call a tow truck that we probably have contracts with anyway somewhere and come take it and then go through all that. So
I had a question where it comes, the road turns in 100 east. There's quite a big culvert there to, for the runoff. And will that
up that right now there's the water comes under the Bundy's driveway, and then there's a one that was created that Salisbury had to put in a ditch going into Hobble Creek. So they put in some big rocks and some grates and stuff, but that'll all be eliminated around until you get to the north side of the Bundy's driveway.
Okay.
So that's now that's going to
They'll
be
put
the
a
debris catcher.
collection system. Salisbury's done. Basically, it's just going to move up the road a little further. Ultimately.
Yeah. And that's where it'll start. That collection grate will start actually on the finish, probably where it is currently now. They'll just have to probably put it.
So if we were road, would we need to make certain that no on one side of the road?
Absolutely. Yes.
And I would be more inclined to just say no street parking, period, in the whole project. That way you don't have we're on the good side or the bad side of the road. It's just you don't park on the roads.
I like that idea myself too, because
it makes it easy to enforce. It makes it easy. You don't have to.
When a visitor comes, where do they park?
In the driveway, I
Down the
guess.
street?
Or
They definitely can't park on 100 East. I know that. No room there.
No visitors. I mean, we're already dealing with the road that our public works saying doesn't quite fit our code, because it's not on a hillside.
Now with this cross section, and I had to scroll into it, it's only sidewalk on one side of the road as well. There's no sidewalk on.
Go back to Councilman. Highest and best use of the property, whether it's a public street or a private street. I think they're bringing something that can be.
I live not far from here, and got a number of the neighbors that want to see something done with what they call, the weed patch or whatever. But they are concerned about things like, will walls be put up? What are they going to do? How is this going to? Councilman Staley and I are the same. I still have a little concern about the intersection at 100 East as well, because we know 100 isn't being your markings, and we're now encouraging. I guess it'll be kind of like the intersection down at Hobble Creek. It'll just be what it is until we improve 100 East.
Yeah, 100 East is a master plan 66-foot right-of-way, and we actually, I think we already have the right-of-way down that road with the power lines that when they acquired the right-of-way. They will develop their little bit of frontage to full width on, just like Hobble Creek had done. So going south from this, through to the creek anyway.
And that's just this.
This gives you a good right-hand turn going north.
Yeah, you're coming south, going left.
Make sure your brake lights work, turn it.
It's only 25. Speed limit.
I know.
Across the street. It's just, that's a little bit up, but yeah, it's about
All right, any other questions or comments?
Well, and I think if you proceed to make that a less wide road based on this, put some of the reasoning, to be honest, comes in front of you guys before, again,
Right, I mean, I thought I understood it. There'd probably be on all of them, if I remember right. Can't remember what you said.
Our intention at this particular and then fall, So we want to bring that up and take it over until we don't require it anymore. Because once it makes the bend, then the wall down below for that neighbor will be, satisfied when they put that in. We don't plan on putting all the walls in right up front. We'll do them as we build. Oh. And then the trailer or the trash enclosure and then I can't really point to it. If you look at the square box right at the end of the street, there's a square box right there. That's the trash enclosure. The gate will be just at the very end of the left side of the T. So it's in half. And that'll just be a metal fence. It'll have a lock on it that the policemen and firemen have a key to. It's one that they provide. Knox box. But that's kind of our intention. Right now we are planning on putting the wall when you're first driving in, and then we'll put the rest of the walls in as one thing kind of going back on the no parking on both sides, as Drew said, you got a 50-foot road, you take one parking lane. Then you're limited to maybe 2 people parking in front of a house, and I don't know how many of you guys have kids. I've got kids, and they have friends, and and so it's going to be difficult to not have parking at least on one side.
I think Councilman Staley had the answer. Your kids can't have friends.
The pocketbook in the fridge.
Yeah, exactly. What about storm detention and whatnot? I'm assuming that you've worked that out or are working that out. Is that part? Is this detention basin going to be for both?
To see if there's a way we can. Right now, that detention basin that's there, that's for the dog park, doesn't work very well. It's already failing. I was gonna say it's pretty small. Yeah. And so one of the things we've been kicking back and forth is maybe going in and improving it, and then taking and creating another drainage.
Go ahead. Yeah, Jason Smith again. The basin right now is a retention basin. So in discussion with goes down into Hobble Creek. You can see the sewer line. I always point at this thing thinking that my finger's going to show up where it's at. If you see the sewer line going down there, we can run a pipe on one side that into the basin. Um, we're looking at doing, if we can make it work, we've discussed this with Lester. He hasn't approved it yet, so but it is part of discussion. We'll either use a pipe for detention, or we will tie into that basin and continue. So there would be water in the gutter longer because it would come down to Hobble Creek and into a gutter, a drain, a sidewalk drain.
I guess
And
what
then-
I'm
there, but there's an easement that the wall is be affecting that lot. Once we put it in, it would if we get it in quick enough, it won't affect anyone now. At this point. We're also, in the grading, we're trying to make as much water go to 100 as possible, where we have a little bit better drainage infrastructure there. So that's the other thing that Lester's asked us to do, and that's what we're doing the best we can there. It's a little difficult because this site actually sits level or a little bit lower than that site, so we're doing the best we can that way too. So sorry I don't have full details on that. I'm still working with Lester on it to make sure that he's good with it. And
Well, I'm sure if you can please Lester, it'll be all right.
If there's no further discussion, I will make a stab at the motion that we approve the preliminary plat for Hunter Run subdivision located on the south side of 200 East and 400 South with the following additional limitations, and that is there's parking only on one side of the street. It would be the side of the street where the sidewalk's located. See, vehicles should turn around. Unique factors to this that would justify allowing the smaller road in is the property itself is one of those where you know it when you see it. This is one where there's not much other highest and best use other than coming in and putting in this particular project in there. We think it would be a benefit to the community. It's out of the norm. I think most projects we would prefer the full street. I'd make a motion to approve it.
Councilman Truman, I just a small number of lots aren't anticipated to be anything other than directly local and in small numbers.
If that sounds good, I'll second the motion.
Okay, I do have a motion and a second.
Council stated about the walls that were going to be put up, whether or not that was a condition of the project or if it's just.
I think that was me, and I am curious whether that was stated to the planning commission condition or just described as it was tonight.
No, I think we talked more about at the end of the crash gaze where that discussion came. And I would just add to that, if I may, is that whenever we have residential butted up against residential, we normally do not require walls to be put in. They tend to come on their own, as we see. But in PUDs, we have more, flexibility to do so because we are giving up either density or other items. So, when walls sometimes do become required, it's usually associated with the PUD, but not generally in straight zoning. Almost any
This one's not a general
subdivision.
case though, right? We're already giving them some concessions on the road
That
and
is true.
whatnot, and then especially on the south side with the elevation change across the whole south thing, the whole south border has a significant elevation change.
And it sounded like in the discussion that it could be confusing that those were absolutely going to and not go in. I don't want a council member being hit up sometime in the future thinking that, oh yeah, they agreed to put it in and we don't have it in. Because that happens. That happens.
I want to vote to approve Councilman Truman's motion, but I would say that it's on my understanding that walls will go in as described by the applicant as the lots are developed and built out. I don't necessarily have to have them go in immediately. But if that's a condition you're comfortable with, Riley, you're comfortable with that? Okay. Maybe amend your motion.
Yeah, so then by motion to around the development, but they can be put in as the lots are actually, projects actually build out.
That'd be easy enough, Drew, to be put in prior to issuance of certificates of occupancy.
That's what I was just saying. If Friday's okay at C of O, that.
Yeah, that's the complicated issue. I too, much like the city in my business, have as a contractor, I usually try and not negotiate walls with people, and we can certainly make them mandatory. But you want to put a house in and then put another house in and have them share the cost of that wall. And so that's where it gets a little tricky timing wise. If you're closing up one house and getting ready to build this and then go to the next one, and I hadn't given it much thought.
These will be combinations because of the delay. You won't get the property.
Right, they're not going to. Yeah. No. No, just anyway, so, but I think we can probably make that work.
That's probably easier than a 50-foot road, isn't it?
Well, the question I've got is why would you make it mandatory for me to put the walls in when in every other subdivision they don't?
Because we're giving you an exception to our ordinance for the smaller road that doesn't quite fit the code. So it does come with some conditions there.
Well, and upon the question, Riley, to be honest, it sounded like you said, yeah, we will be doing that. So what I don't want to do is get down the road and have that question come up and say, well, yeah, I said I would, but it was just, worked out. I just don't want to have either side being confused by that.
Sure.
Or citizens are hurting, well, it sounded clearly like council said, no, the government put walls in, and he said he'd do it. So I just want to make clear, either we do or we don't, it's a requirement or not, and that was agreed to or not.
Okay, I'm okay with that. Walls at the.
We're talking perimeter
it's
walls.
the perimeter wall.
Perimeter
Yeah.
walls.
So it's just perimeter walls, the internal walls are not,
I'd
that's
even
not
be okay with just the south perimeter because that's so much different. Yeah, there's a substantial elevation, even if it's condition of the.
Okay.
And we have done that in the past. I remember Salisbury project, we did the very thing for that very reason, because we had
Quite an
huge
elevation fall.
change, and
Yeah.
with storm drainage and whatnot issues, the wall became a good help to us.
So are we going to wait then on the south perimeter walls until C of O is issued, or are those going to go in early on with the development where we're talking a safety issue?
Well, just for the sake, again, if we're in the negotiating stage, I guess the fairest thing to do is at C of O that the rear wall will be in place. So if everybody's okay with
That'd be
that.
my recommendation too.
Okay, we'll make like the third amendment to the motion. And
We're going for records
we will
tonight.
strike the second amendment as it goes, and the condition will be that at the time a C of O is issued, prior to that, the south perimeter wall will be in place.
Okay, I have a motion again. Do I have a second?
I guess that's to me to second it again.
Okay. I have a motion and a second.
Turek, aye.
Segmiller, aye.
Staley, aye.
Truman, aye.
Nice and I.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, Riley. Okay, we'll move on to item 7, public hearings, associated ordinances, and resolutions. Public hearing for consideration of adopting to open and amend the Washington City 2013-2014 fiscal year budget. Kimberly Roosh.
Okay, so this June 30th, and with this amendment, the actual overall total city budget is going to decrease by $2,971,482. The bulk of the decrease is simply related to capital project items, and the majority of that being from the water fund in terms of a project that hasn't moved forward yet. With the general fund specifically, that budget item is going to increase though by $1,021,609, and that is the increase related to the $800,000 we're proposing for transfer. And then we brought in an additional $247,000 in grant funds. So basically, the increase is correlated to those two items.
That's on the 3650 South improvement.
So that would be, right, so we talked about, I think it was $100,000 that we were going to send over go to the street capital project, yes.
And did I understand then that there was grant money found that could be used for the improvement to 3650 South as well?
No, this grant money that came in is public safety related. And we had a CDBG grant that came in that was a pass-through for the Aaron Kimball Foundation. So it's actually issued through 5 County Association of Governments through the state of Utah. Money flows directly in and then back out, but we needed to account for that in revenue and expense. So that's basically kind of the bulk of it. So if you have any questions, I'll be glad to tackle them. Or
Are we still participating with grants on with the foundation? Are they still?
I believe I have an the money from the state on that.
For the consideration of adopting a resolution to open and amend the Washington City budget. Have any questions, comments, concerns, thoughts? Okay.
I seen Keith G starting to shuffle. I thought he was going to come up to plug that public service safety building or something. So seeing no one, Mayor, I'll move that we close.
I have a motion to close the public hearing. Do I have a second?
Right.
Turek, aye.
Thank you, gentlemen. Item B, consideration to approve resolution number 2014-17, increasing, decreasing the revenues and expenditures of the Washington City 2013-2014 fiscal year budget.
With that, Mayor, I'll 14-17, increasing and decreasing the revenues and expenditures of Washington City 2013-2014 fiscal year budget, and also say we certainly appreciate those departments and our city employees for the great work and the way that they handle the taxpayers' dollars out there and turning those into an asset to our community.
Thank you. I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, I have a motion and a second.
Turek, aye.
Segmiller, aye.
Staley, aye.
Truman, aye.
Nice night.
Thank you, gentlemen. That is approved. Item C, public hearing for consideration to approve a zone change application Z-14-06, requesting to change the present zone from open space to RA-1, residential agricultural, 1 acre minimum lots, property located approximately 700 south, 2400 east, north of Countryway Estates, Phase 2. Applicant Stephen Karen Martin.
Thank you, Mayor. As stated, the applicant's requesting a zone change of approximately 5.56 acres. Again, this is just north of the Countryway Estates, right before you get to the bridge. Off the left-hand side. Estate residential and open space to the west, and just open space to the north. The surrounding zoning designations are open space to the north and west, and residential agricultural 1 acre minimum, or the RA1, to the south and east. The applicants are just wishing to rezone this portion of their property. It's not the whole piece that they own, but just this southern part of it, for the opportunity to build a home at this particular location. Open space zoning does not allow residences on it, so that's the need to go to the RA. So with that, and just so you might note, wondering why it might have went there, where that kind of purple, or is fuchsia, is that the color of fuchsia? I don't know.
Good word.
Something to that effect. That's basically where there is a, I'm trying to remember what it's called. It's not the floodplain, it is the, what do they call that other secondary, Mike, the silt, the erosion. The erosion zone is pretty much right there where that particular color ends, and then you can see the farming right there. So we wouldn't want them, they can build in a floodplain, but even erosion, but we tend not to want to do that. So this is the particular area that they're choosing just to be able to build their home and develop that there.
This may be just one home or something, then this isn't going to be...
Right, well, they'd have to come back for a subdivision if they want to do
Right,
anything
but
different, and
more than likely a home or two, because
It's
the
probably-
access as well doesn't lend to it.
well, the access right now is actually, it's an easement they have across their neighbor's property to the west, and they'll actually be coming down the road that will be the far end of Countryway Estates. The far west boundary will have a road. Actually, when they develop that out, it'll be a paved road that these folks will benefit from pretty much all the way back until they hit the part where they then come across their neighbor's property with that given easement that they have for access. Unfortunately, they don't have access. There's a protective strip. You know, it'd be nice to come off a Countryway, but they can't. Concerned about that, and staff really has no problem with this. The Planning Commission reviewed it at their June, I think, a 4th meeting. The Planning Commission unanimously recommended approval of Z-14-06 for the change request from open space to the proposed RA1 zoning designation to the City Council, and just based on the findings below in the report. So this is probably one of the most
acreage of the parcel.
6. The whole project, I can't remember if that's, they own 8. They do, yes, up to the north. All this, you can kind of see that black property line up there. Oops, I shouldn't have done that.
Down into the meander, basically.
Yeah. When you look on county records.
Yeah. Necessarily relevant to this. Some concerns about a
Is this the area? Okay.
no,
Thought it was agriculture property, but agriculture burn.
thought too.
Any other questions for Drew? Okay, this is again a public hearing. That has an interest or a disinterest in this property? Okay,
A motion to close the public hearing?
I have a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
A motion and a second.
Staley, aye.
Truman, aye.
Nice and I.
Thank you, gentlemen. We'll move to item D, to consideration to approve an ordinance adopting the zone change request Z-14-06 to change present zone from open space to RA-1.
Mayor, if there's no other discussion amongst the council or the citizens, I would make the motion that we approve an ordinance adopting zone change request Z-14-06 for property that's located at approximately 700 south and 25 east, changing the zoning from open space to RA1.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you.
Seg Miller, aye.
Staley, aye.
Truman, aye.
Nice and I.
Again, thank you, gentlemen. That's approved. Item E, public hearing for the consideration to amend the Washington City Code by amending portions of Title IX zoning regulations, Chapter 9, Administrative and Professional AP Zones, Sections 2, B, use regulations, along with Chapter 10, Commercial Zones, Article A-2, B, and B-2, B, use regulations to include 300 East Washington Fields Road and 3650 South, applicant Washington City.
Just try to get it up there. Thank you for your patience. Actually, the applicant has stated is the city. This kind of just give you a little quick history about this particular proposal. Is when we were doing the zone change of a particular zoning request that you tabled 2 weeks ago. This is kind of tied with that. As the Planning Commission worked this over, and we came and talked about that area and the concerns on Washington Fields Road, and in my mind, we have protective areas on Washington Parkway, Buena Vista Boulevard, and Telegraph. And so my mind just kind of went forward, and I just kind of blurted out, well, why don't we just go and amend the code to protect? At least it gives you a chance to see the conditional use permit of a particular commercial project. So why don't we include, since our development's starting to move south, we can put in 300 East Washington Fields Road, and then the Planning Commission during their public hearing even went as far to add the 3650, since we'll have commercial that'll be going down it eventually over time. So that's kind of how this came about. It was during that process of that zone change at the corner of 2000 South or Sandia and Washington Fields Road. So with that, staff went back and advertised, had the public hearing with the Planning Commission, and this is the proposal that came of that, that we indeed do change or add to the existing condition that's found in those particular chapters in our zoning, that 2B is under conditional use permits, and this particular development. So basically what it states is the original is development of any parcel of land for any of the principal uses listed in subsection A of the section, if said development exceeds 5,000 square feet of total building floor area, and then here's where the twist comes in, or of any parcel of land adjacent to Buena Vista Boulevard, Telegraph Road, Washington Parkway, 300 East or Washington Fields Road, and 3650 South. So in essence, what that means, if any development happens on that is adjacent to those roads, that has to go through a CUP, thus allowing us to have a chance to see what it'll look like, see some elevations, site plans, where lights may be, things we can talk about and put conditions on to help mitigate out situations that may arise with adjoining particular roads, anything like that. It just gives us a chance to have some say on the design of that particular development. So with that said, the plan be glad to answer any questions.
we put a comma after 300 East and then move that or down to after Fields Road and then just say 300 East, comma, Washington Fields Road or 3650 South?
We could, you know, I played with that a lot, and I just felt because 300 East and Washington Fields Road are, in essence, the same road. When you're on it, you really don't know until you cross the bridge that all of a sudden a name change has occurred. So we can do whatever you feel more comfortable with. I wasn't the best English student. I'm more of a mathematical mind.
My bigger concern is, does the N 3650 South, does that mean it's got to conjoin Fields Road? Anyway, I just think we're trying to do a list of roads.
We are.
And so let's just do a comma and then an or.
Or maybe I could do that. I could actually run 3650 up in front of them. And if that'll help, would it be better to put 3650 South?
The thing is 300 East and Washington Fields Road are standalone roads, right? 300 East up in town is 300
They
East.
technically are, even though they are.
Fields Road is Fields Road, and so they do become one of each other at some point. But
at the bridge.
They're standalone roads.
I could just take the or out and put a comma in. That's fine. Yeah, but those, I'm not worried about that due to the fact that I will never have commercial property on the 300 East, you know, that we're talking about out in the fields. And if it comes, hey, guess what? I've got a built-in protection. So that's where this will only come into play. So.
It could just be adjacent to the following road, colon, and just list your roads. You don't have to worry about ands and ors.
Yeah, we can fix the grammar on it. I'm fine.
If a developer submits plans in, it's going to have to look exactly like they lines.
Exactly, unless it, say it's Sherwin-Williams or Qual Paint, whatever. So we try to can all be worked out. Actually, it won't be the council, it'll be more we try to hold them somewhat to that.
That corner there. There's some or barn looks. The conditional use permit could have that, but it would have to be approved at the planning commission, correct?
Yep. They're going to bring in a design, you know, for the planning commission to see, and they're going to either say, yeah, that's, you know, that'll be fine with what the city or the planning commission would like to see there. So it'll be basically fall upon their shoulders at that point. So. But that still brings the question of what we talked about having specific design guidelines. But again, I know we've had that discussion, and sometimes that's either a real good thing or it really confines you.
I think there's probably a balance. You know, some areas have really strict design guidelines. We currently have none. I think there's some middle ground. That can be some guidelines that are, you know, really not oppressive, not to the point where it's going to discourage, but it's going to give it a little bit of what some of our citizens and maybe some of us have kind of asked for. Just some direction more than anything.
Yeah. And we can work on those over time. This kind of gives us a quick, at least opportunity that they still have to go for the planning commission with what they proposed. And this was the fast.
The design guidelines for that area, but also for some of the other commercial areas coming on board too. We have at least a little bit of.
And again, you can tie those to specific areas if you want, or you can have them across the board. It's, you know, kind of like this paragraph does. It limits just these streets, you know, that have special standards, and we could, if we adopt something, just say in certain areas that it would be.
Consistent. So they bring it in, they have to worry that somebody can come in and just bring anything they want. At least there's an idea that the next property is not going to look or be substantially less inferior in That's why I'd have to come from you guys to put those guidelines in if you wanted those.
So we can avoid the Tower of Terror that we tore down, right?
You mean the World War II monument, as I like used to call it, that's what.
Up and right.
Any other questions for Drew? If not, we'll move forward to the public hearing to consider to amend the Washington City Code. Doesn't look like we have a lot of interest in that one.
A lot of support, that shows.
Yeah, absolutely. Means they trust you all explicitly.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to close the public hearing.
Dyson, aye.
Truman, aye.
Staley, aye.
Segmiller, aye.
Turek, aye.
Thank you, gentlemen. Item F, consideration to approve an ordinance amending the Washington City Code, sections 9-92B, 9-10A-2B, and 9-10B-2B.
Can I just say so moved? Or do I need
As
to?
long as you put a -2B in there.
So moved, Mayor, as you stated.
And I'll second that.
I have a motion and a second.
Dyson, aye.
Truman, aye.
Staley, aye.
Segmiller, aye.
Turek, aye.
Thank you, gentlemen. Item 8, roads. Consideration to close a portion of Prickly Pear Drive from Yucca Lane north to Cerritos Road. Applicant Ann Hall.
So, this will be my 5th annual neighborhood block party, but usually we just have it on the road, but we are wanting to block off the road, mostly for kids' safety. I have the signature.
It's like 6 homes wouldn't have access with their vehicles for a bit
Yeah.
of time, and they're all over.
But I've talked. It will be July 8th. Until late. I don't know. We can make 10. I'm guessing 10, but I would probably need some time to set up. So.
Okay, I think you should have a start and end time just to be precise. 6 to 10.
6 to 10, yes. That would be,
You've done this for 5 years now.
yes.
Have there ever been any calls to like the police or
No.
anything like that?
It's
This
been
isn't this.
home. My home is this one yard, and I have a longer driveway, so it's just here. But we're just wanting to expand. I've been able to get some more help, so we're trying to get a real community
That sounds
block
fun.
party. So.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, I think, more neighborhoods, if we could do that, kind of build the neighborhood spirit.
Yes, that's what I've been trying. This year I'm kind of going full force. It's been kind of stagnant with just friends, and so this year I'm kind of going full force trying to get everybody out, going for the Buena Vista neighborhood.
Drew, can you pull out on the map a little bit? Can you?
I think this is,
Okay,
yeah.
that's. Bring an aerial if you want. Could you? Yeah, could you bring that area up on the aerial? Right there. tad more. So really, it's just kind of a short interior.
Yeah, there's ways
Ways around
all
it.
around.
And that's one of the thoughts that I had. I know that a lot of times we try and not to block off our streets for these types of events
Mhm.
simply because of the impacts and those things. But looking at this particular one, I just don't see any.
Everything in the middle of the road.
We have the fire. A couple of the neighbors have them, so they are letting us use them.
I could support closure if we make it a condition that you don't. Just need to move a barrier or something.
On one side though, as long as there's.
What do you mean by canopy? I don't know. Is that like just a shade type thing?
If we have a table out there or anything, if there's a canopy, but.
I suggest that they have several of them, put them all on
One side.
all on the same side in case we have to get by. So they're not staggered if others even
Okay.
That's, yeah, my concern is that somebody in that event has an issue and we need to get an ambulance in, and there's a bounce house right in the way, right?
Yeah.
It's avoiding that possibility.
Oh yeah, there won't be anything that's not movable very easily on there, and we won't have it right in the middle. We can put them to one side.
Any other questions? How about if we consider a motion?
Mayor, I'll make the motion that there add to the agenda just says to close. I'm going to call it a temporary closure of Prickly Pear Drive from the border of Yucca Lane North to Cerritos Drive, and that it be on the date of July 18th. Installations a half portion of the
To that.
Yeah, I'll make that condition also that the 6 by the closure.
Because the house on the left corner, bottom corner, the driveway is actually on
the other
Yucca.
side.
So I do have this.
I think
You can have that.
That's
Even if it comes
sufficient.
in,
Yeah,
let's put a condition.
that's
We have it.
sufficient, I think.
In case we ever go through this again.
That's
Yep.
fine.
I'll second the motion.
I have a motion and a second.
Turek, aye.
Segment.
Staley, aye.
Truman, aye.
Nice and I.
Okay, thank you, Ann. Have fun.
Can I ask a question?
Uh-huh.
Sorry. Does the city provide blockades or something to block, or do we provide that?
Usually the city doesn't.
Okay.
On those types of events, we kind of leave it to you as the private party to
Okay.
put some caution tape or something across
Okay.
it. That's usually the easiest way to block them off. Is just
Okay.
you can
Thank
go
you.
buy that yellow caution tape
Thank you.
at Home Depot very cheaply.
Item B, consideration to approve a quitclaim deed for a portion of roadway within the southern corridor over to the Utah Department of Transportation.
I think Mike's coming up with that one.
A portion of the Washington Fields Road out that's actually underneath the southern over to UDOT. In the original agreement that council approved with you construction of phase 3A. That section of road was actually in that agreement that we would deed that back to, or deed that over to UDOT. And just, it kind of fell through the cracks. Or it's just a quick claim that
So
section.
This is Fields Road? Is that what it is?
Yes, it was actually part of the Heaton Minor subdivision. If you knew where.
I remember that, yeah.
Yeah. This is that. The deed over to make it the 80 feet.
Mayor, if there's no other discussion, I'll make the motion that we approve a quitclaim deed for a portion of roadway within the southern corridor over to the Utah Department of Transportation, located at the intersection of Fields Road and the southern corridor.
Just before I second that, I'm just thinking, you go out there now, you don't even know that Ken Christensen or the Heatons even live there.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
Nice and I.
Truman, aye.
Seg Miller, aye.
Thank you, gentlemen. Item 9, agreement, delay agreement for payment of water impact fees for community gardens. Jeff Starkey.
Yeah, just really quick, I wanted to introduce.
Oh, okay.
I wanted to introduce this. It's really exciting. I'm on the Healthy Dixie Council for Washington County. Board and delay the water impact fees on land that's undeveloped. So they would work directly. We have a sample from St. George City they provided to our city, and I believe Ivans, Santa Clara, Hurricane have all finished their agreements. And what a great way to support community gardens in our area, especially with the future of our community garden, moving. And so marketed to develop one, but that's kind of the background with this Healthy Dixie Council and these grants.
This is pieces or parcels of property that have not
They're
been
not developed.
They're just sitting out there, and so we're delaying the impact fee, allowing them to go ahead and put a water meter on and hook up for those impact fees for the time they'll pay at that time.
Identified on Exhibit A, and there's Exhibit A is empty, and what you're telling a community
Right.
garden?
Yep.
Okay.
So they would provide whatever area, so Staley Farm, plans in the future to develop it anytime soon. This Healthy Dixie grant would come and pay for the water meter to be installed, and then the city would agree not to, to delay the impact fee. Mike Shaw informed me that it's about 20. Right now, they'll get it eventually when they start developing the land.
So if you're get together into a community, is that sufficient to get the grant?
They've got really specific requirements, and they just put together a whole bunch of bylaws, and they would let these groups, you have to form a group, and then you'd have to, put together all your guidelines and your proposal of where, and so they'll be really selective, but they've got several $1,000s to do this, so.
Yeah, and I guess I haven't seen, I just wonder if there's a number of people that must be part of the community. If 2 people can be a community and take a piece of land.
Like gardens.
Oh, no, they're requiring that it's at least a group of 10 to get the garden, a group of 10, and they have to have a site plan and maintenance agreements and, all these different things. They got to return the land back to its original state. And yeah, so it's a really neat concept, but.
Does the document that we're approving tonight then spell out that it is just for these Healthy Dixie community gardens, or is this any community garden that somebody wants to come out?
That's a good question.
I think we need to probably spell that out a little bit.
I guess that would be up to you whether you want to, open it up to anyone or
Yeah, 'cause that's what I was
just to
gonna
the
say.
county and the
So
health department.
2 people come show up and say, hey, we're going to start a community garden. We want our impact fee deferred here.
Right.
And where what you're saying is this Healthy Dixie one does have quite some stringent requirements to put
Right.
it in place and to operations of it, which is probably what we want to have in place
Right.
there.
And I'm happy to email or provide that to Denise, the bylaws for this grant. You've got it really organized.
I think that's a good point. 'Cause I had some questions also, Wendy, on that, just so that as we do, because really what we're approving is the fact that we'll have an impact fee, a water impact fee deferral agreement available if they come in under. And I think what we'll make sure we have, I think it's that everybody kind of knows that's what the deal is, but on ours, we'd like to have it that it's going to have to come in, it's going to have to be a recommendation from the Healthy Dixie Council, because that's where they go through and get them. So they're working through the Healthy Dixie Council to do these right now. So right now, it's not just open to anybody that comes in and wants to do it.
Correct.
I think that they may be able to come in. Piece of land, it's a piece. You wouldn't have to get a condition. I'm assuming no.
Right.
Example of like where our community garden is, you've got a residential lot, but it's not being planned to build a home on, and there's no real.
There's one other wrinkle though. There's already a hookup there.
Correct.
So
So that
one's
one's
a piece of dirt that
doesn't have
has
that.
no water
Right.
to it, right?
And this may not be the full lot. I'm not sure if this isn't anticipating. I mean, typically what
Right.
we do is if you came in a conditional use permit, it would be a complete lot.
Correct.
So I don't know if that's the setup either. I'm not sure if that's necessarily true. Or
Right.
I assumed, I guess, gardening would have been a permitted use anywhere in any zone, but maybe it's not. Are these only the thing is.
Well, it would have to be if you're deferring an impact fee, you're only doing it for the lot.
But we mentioned somewhere in Staley Farms, that wouldn't
Yeah, I don't think, no, correct.
Or was that just
I think that was just an
example?
example.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I was just thrown out.
Because you'd have
You
to,
know,
I think it would have to be a
undeveloped land.
subdivided, recorded lot for you to
Then it would
defer
make sense.
anything
That would make
onto.
sense.
And I don't think that we would go out and install a
And I
hookup
believe that
unless it was.
specifies in their requirements and with their grant application too, and I can find out for sure.
Well, then it comes in a lot, because that makes sense, and it's easier for staff to work with to decide that. The other question is, Mike, so as you're talking about this, when we're talking about an impact fee deferral, are we really talking about the connection fee deferral, or are we talking about the water impact fee? Because I heard two different things. One was, we'd put a meter in, but we wouldn't charge for
The water impact fee would be us, the Healthy Dixie Council would put in and install the water meter and pay for that.
Okay, so it is an impact fee, so
Right.
what does the Conservancy District, doesn't this have to be jointly done with the Water Conservancy District, or do we have authority to approve that? Because that's going to be different than any other impact fee we
Yeah,
have.
that, they'd have to get approval from the district for their deferral.
Okay. So I'm guessing the
So it's
Healthy
just our
Dixie
city.
people understand that? This is
Oh,
not
yeah.
They have to have, if you're coming in to get a water meter, whether you're building a home or not, you have to pay your impact fees to the
That's a
city
trigger
and the
for
district.
district.
Or you go to the district and you bring the letter back stating that they've been satisfied on their end.
So when they pull it from our city, the trigger from our city is either the impact fee receipt from the county or a letter from the county. And you will not issue a building permit.
We won't set a water meter.
You won't set a water meter without both of those documents, period.
And I just saw no reference to the Conservancy. But everybody has, I mean, every city has to deal with the Conservancy. So you must have a process there that the district says it. So what do you need to see, Mike, to say, okay?
Well, I'm fine with this. I think they're gonna still have to go to the district.
Got it from our end.
No, we
in to get, they come in and they want the deferral because they're coming in with a
It'd be
grant.
mine.
Okay. Okay, yeah, we can adopt this consistent with our deferral agreement already, and that'd be, I think it'd be fine.
So the delay agreement that we're looking at is clearly just a sample.
Before that we already have this understanding with the district, because I don't want a group coming in all excited about having their card and find out at the end of the day that Washington City is making them go back and get something from the district.
And the county, yeah, the health department wanted some commitments for the city before they put together the whole
Sure.
package, so.
So we do deferral agreement.
And I
that
would
shouldn't be a problem.
want this to state that it was for a 5/8 meter only,
Right.
nothing larger.
Right. We are, yeah, we'll do that.
I don't think we want a carte blanche out there. We want it to be part of that.
I think we already have a copy of their stuff.
Probably a need for a motion based on the agenda item. I'll make the motion that the council approve the attorney and staff to develop a written agreement that provides deferral. Is it deferral or delay, Council?
They call it delay, but really we call it deferral.
The deferral of water impact fees associated with an approved community garden that conforms with some of the concerns expressed tonight.
And the associated with this health.
Associated with Healthy Dixie, yeah.
Limited in meter size.
Yeah.
Second motion.
All right, I do have a motion and a second.
Nice.
Gentlemen.
Thank you.
Anything to report on item 10 from assigned
Mayor,
committees?
It's not a committee, but it's something that I had volunteered and the council had asked me to deal with. I've spoken with Chris Mosteller in the last few weeks, and right now we're just waiting for him to kind of, he's got some things he's trying to take care of on his end, and so we're waiting for that. That's kind of what I guess that's what the delay is right now, is he's been informed that where we are on the discussions, and that there's nothing left for the city.
There is a family reunion, so we won't have that report. There is a need to go to a closed session.
You know what, unless somebody has something, I don't
You don't
think
have?
we have anything that's pressing, given the
Okay.
fact that unless somebody has
Well, I
something they
just-
still want to.
Are we up to speed then on maybe most lawsuits or any lawsuits that are pending or coming?
Quick question, but I do have one question that relates to a lawsuit.
So you guys
I do
want to
too,
go?
actually.
Then
Well,
let's
then it's fine then.
to a closed session to discuss pending or potential litigation.
Mayor, I'll move that we session to discuss pending or potential litigation.
I have a motion. I have a second.
Second.
This night.
Staley,
Second, Miller, aye.
Turek, aye.
Thanks, Dan. See ya.